All right, the WNBA playoffs continue on Sunday with the start of the semifinal round. Now, we previewed the first round, so you know we've got to do round two. Joining me for a semifinals preview is the Liberty beat reporter for Winsider and co-host of Pull Up with Myles and Owen, Myles Ehrlich, and also joining me is the founder of Girls Talk Sports TV, Khristina Williams. The dynamic duo is here with me. How you doing, guys?
Doing good. It's super excited.
Back for another round.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys back for this because here we are. We're down to the final four of the WNBA. Got you excited? Did you enjoy the first round?
It was really great matchups. That New York Liberty, Washington Mystics, as I said in the last show, you know, that they wouldn't go down without a fight, and we saw just that they fought until the very end, but ultimately the Liberty came out on top, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. I am hoping that one of these years we do get to see one of the underdogs get to a game three, host at home, and then pull that upset. Just because of all the narratives it'll create about shifting the series to 1-1-1 or something like that. But it was a lot of fun and great basketball. And I think the teams that we expected, right? The top seeds advanced, and now we've got the 1-4 and the 2-3.
There we go. We have it. And you guys predicted that, so everybody's predictions were right. That's always good. All right, so we're going to start with the Wings and Aces. And Khristina, I'm going to start with you for this semifinal matchup. The Aces, we saw them, they manhandled the sky in the opening round. And the Wings, they bounced the dream. They got their first playoff series win since 2009. Now, I think in this one, the three-point battle should be interesting here. The Aces, we know they're good at making threes. They can hit the outside shot, while the Wings, not so much. Can Dallas slow down Vegas from downtown? Do you think that's possible, Khristina?
Well, if the Wings want to win, they obviously won't be able to outscore the Aces, but as you mentioned, they will have to slow down the Aces. And I think that one of the things that we see in this matchup between the two teams is that there is a mismatch in the backcourt. Aces have Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, who can outscore Dallas's. And I think that in order for the Wings to be successful, you're going to have to see Arike Ogunbowale, Crystal Dangerfield step up. They're not really known for their defense. And so then I think that Latricia Trammell, how are you going to rotate your players to be able to match up against that? Now the Wings, they have Odyssey Sims, they have Veronica Burton, who are great perimeter defenders. I also think that the Wings front court, they match up great with the Aces in terms of their size and length. If they can find a way to contain A'ja Wilson in the paint, I think that they could be close. But again, it's going to be really hard to outscore that Aces squad. Yeah,
it's going to be hard. Listen, containing A'ja Wilson, stopping their guards, really hard thing to do. Myles, that brings me to talking about the perimeter players of the Aces, which Khristina just alluded to, and how great they are. Kelsey Plum, she owns the Wings in the regular season. Do you expect her and the other Vegas guards to dominate here in the series?
I think this series is going to come down to that three-point defense. And we saw in the regular season, the Aces hit 12 threes per game. They only made more, 12.3 per game, against the Lynx this season. So in these matchups with Dallas, they are just living by that three ball. And that's Kelsey Plum, like you said, 3.7 threes per game in these matchups, 23 points. Chelsea Gray, 2.8 threes. Jackie Young, 2.8 threes. Alicia Clark, 2.3. So that's four players hitting two or more threes, and it's going to come down to that perimeter defense. Where Dallas could potentially find an advantage is inside. They lead the league in points in the paint. They lead the league in rebounding. They lead the league in second chance points. And they also are pretty good in transition. It's not like they are all crashing the glass and that nobody's getting back. They're top half of the league in fast break points on their side, but also in limiting opponent fast break points. So if the Aces, they are capable of getting out and running and scoring in transition, the Wings have to make sure they're picking up those shooters in transition, because that's where the game could get lost. And we see those bursts. And I think about like those Warriors teams, right, from 5 years ago, where you think you're in a game and then all of a sudden it's a 12-0 run in 90 seconds. That's what these Aces are capable of doing at any time because of all of those guards that you talk about specifically.
Yeah, they're so good with the guard play, and we'll see what they're able to do. That's what makes the series fascinating at some levels. You mentioned this to me before, Khristina, too, right? What possibly, as you just mentioned, what the Wings might be able to do if they can take advantage inside. So it'll be interesting to see. With that being said, prediction time, guys. Myles, I'm going to start with you. Who are you picking to win this series, and how many games and why?
So I'm picking the Aces to win the series. I don't think it's going to be a sweep because Dallas is just probably playing its best basketball right now. And we've seen this throughout the season where they go on really strong runs, then they kind of come back to earth, and then they pick up again. And right now, what we saw in that first round was we knew after game one, when they came back from down 20 to Atlanta to win comfortably, that is just demoralizing to an opponent. And that game two, the Dream were just kind of shut down after that. So to bring that energy and to win as a group together and bring that into the next round, the only problem is it's near impossible to win in Vegas, right? They lost once there in the regular season. So can you keep that confidence? I think when it gets back to Dallas, that's when they can potentially steal a game three, especially if they could keep at least one of these games really close in Vegas. But I still have the Aces advancing, probably 3-1.
All right, so you got them 3-1, Aces in 4. That's the pick for Myles. Christina, are you giving the Wings a game as well, too, or are you thinking sweep, which I've seen a lot of predictions out here for sweep already. Are you bringing out the broom?
I'm going to have the Dallas stealing a game as well. And I know I said something different to you, Dexter, a little bit earlier.
Yes, you did. Just to let the people know, this is not what you told me.
But here's why. I think that Dallas, although they may be a little bit unpredictable, they're a team with a lot to play for and a lot to fight for. They're a team with a bunch of underdogs. But then you have players like Natasha Howard, who's a WNBA champion and has that veteran experience. And also, the Dallas Wings are the only team in the WNBA who beat the top every team, especially the top 3 teams. So you just never know. And, if the game in Vegas that they won in the regular season, if that's indicative of how they can play and beat this team, play the zone defense, like I said, contain Asia Wilson, and just play at their pace in their game and try to stop, as Myles said, those fast break transition points, I think that they can definitely do something.
Okay,
sure.
So y'all have me thinking, because I had this as a sweep, but I think there's reasons to go off the confidence they may have had from the win in the series over the Dream, and then also the points you bring up, too, from the regular season. They've beaten the top teams. They could have some confidence here. And if they win a game in the series, can do a lot for this team going forward. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see. All right, guys, the other semifinal matchup. It's local ties we got here. We got the Connecticut Sun versus the New York Liberty. Myles, I'm going to start with you on this because the Liberty, we saw them dominate the Sun, right? They swept the regular season series 4-0. 2 of those games, which I keep in mind, the Liberty, they out-executed, they shut down the Sun down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Should New York be coming into this series with a ton of confidence, right? And does any of how they dominated Connecticut in the regular season matter here? Does that matter? We talked about stuff mattering with Dallas. Does that matter here for New York in this series?
Yes and no. I think that obviously you'd rather be 4-0 against an opponent than 0-4.
Right.
But as all the players keep saying, it's a brand new series. It's a brand new season when you get to the postseason. And it's a new mentality. And I think it's even better now that they've got a playoff series win as a group together before they meet the Sun again, because the Sun are a team that play with playoff intensity throughout the entire season. Though, I guess what I would say though is what's really important for New York is that they won these 2 games at home by such a large margin, because at home they won by, I think it was 23.5 points. Then on the road they won by 6.5 points. And there was that one that was a 20-point comeback overtime win in Uncasville. But I asked the players about that yesterday, and Stewie said home court advantage is something that's huge, knowing that we have this crowd of hopefully 10,000 plus. This is where we play. This is literally our home gym. We are comfortable here. So knowing that they've got that behind them, every time there's a little bit of a slip up, and I think we saw that game 2 against the Mystics, right? The game slipping away, but then the momentum that they were able to just generate from the crowd, every time they got a stop, every time they hit a shot, that's what kind of buoys you in these tough playoff series. So yes, the 4-0 is great, but I think what's more important than that is knowing they've got 3 out of 5. And if they can hold serve and just have to take 1 out of 2 in Connecticut, they'll be in really good shape.
They should take care of business there. That's what the New York fans want to hear. Let's talk a little bit about the Connecticut side, Khristina, because for them, when you talk about them, you can't not talk about Alyssa Thomas, MVP candidate, but she struggled shooting against New York in the regular season, just 37% from the field. What does she have to do to get it going in the series that would make the Liberty worry even more about her? We know what she can do, but what would she be doing that's right that would have the Liberty concerned here?
Well, Dexter, I'm not sure if it's more on what Alyssa Thomas can do or just because she is their best player by far. She's their best playmaker, their best defender, best rebounder. And so I think that in order for them to be successful, one, obviously Alyssa Thomas has to be clicking on all cylinders. And you mentioned the New York Liberty held her to her lowest averages across the board when they played in the regular season. I mean, Alyssa, their offense is driving through how she plays. And so it's really about the supporting cast. How can they support her? She's driving downhill, kicking it out to open shooters, just getting people involved. But how can DeWanna Bonner be consistent? Rebecca Allen, Tiffany Hayes. I think that that's going to be the through line for this Connecticut Sun team in terms of how they can be successful in order to beat the Liberty.
I wonder how much confidence it gives the Liberty, go back to confidence, Myles, and the fact that they have shut down their best player. As Khristina just said, she is the person that makes that offense go. Speaking of offense, Myles, coming back to you on this, the Liberty, right? We saw in the first round they sweep the Mystics, but they didn't shoot the three ball well. We've seen them shoot the three ball well. It's just 28% in those two games. Are you concerned at all about their three-point shooting walls? I know it's a small sample size heading into this series against the Sun.
Game 2 against the Mystics, something that I think they learned about themselves was that they were able to make adjustments, and they had 52 points in the paint. Where the worry could come in, though, is that on the season, the Connecticut Sun held opponents to a low 32.1% shooting beyond the arc and only 6.7 threes made per game. The Liberty hit 8.5 threes per game in those 4 games against Connecticut, which was their low against any opponent, and shot just 34.7%. But here's the thing also, and all of the numbers can say what they're going to say. You get Sabrina Ionescu in a gym for a series, you know there's going to be at least one game, right? Like we saw game 1 against the Mystics. There will be at least one game where she hits 5 threes. Stewie, if you're putting all that attention on Sabrina, we saw that in game 2, right? Stewie goes off for 27, which is her high against the Mystics all year. There are so many different ways that this team can beat you. Betnijah Laney is just a knockdown shooter from the corner. Courtney Vandersloot really struggled from 3 this year, but against the Mystics, she shot 46.2%. So Sloot was knocking down those shots. So the idea and the mentality of this team is that it's Sandy Brondello always says, good to great, right?
Yep.
Pass up the good shot to get to a great shot. And you have so many playmakers on this team that you have that just ability, like we saw with Sabrina, 29 in game 1 against the Mystics, just 11 in game 2, and is used largely as a decoy in that second half, just because Tosh was just shutting her down. But also, yeah, let's take her away from the ball. Having this much talent, this many playmakers, sure, if they struggle from 3, are they going to have to find other ways to win? Yes. But this is a team that has proven throughout the entire season that they can do that.
Yeah, we have seen that. You made a great point there about how they've made the adjustments, ability to score inside, so many ways they can score on you. Khristina, last thing for me here on the series and tossing to you. Anytime we look at series, we're always talking about X factors, right? Yes. Guys, anytime it's playoff coverage, we're looking. Who are the X factors in the series? Can you give me your X factor for the Liberty and your X factor for the Sun in this matchup?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the X factor for the Liberty are going to be 2 players. You mentioned Betnijah Laney. I think that she's peaking at the right time in the postseason for the New York Liberty. She's known to be a defensive threat, but now we see her as she can score on all 3 levels. As Myles said, like when Sabrina's being used as a decoy, they have so much versatility on the roster that it gets other players involved. And so I think that she can be, an X factor in this series, but also Jonquel Jones. I mean, even when she played the Sun in the regular season, she was averaging almost a double-double against her former team. I think that she's going to be in that MVP mode that we've seen her all along in the second half of the season. I think that she can be an X factor for the New York Liberty as well, because the Sun are an undersized team, and if the New York Liberty use their size and length to their advantage, they're taking this series away. And then on the Connecticut Sun side, DeWanna Bonner, I mean, she's showing that age doesn't matter. Age ain't nothing but a number.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because she's also peaking at the right time on the offensive end for the Connecticut Sun, getting things done on both ends of the floor. And then Rebecca Allen, we talked about Sabrina Ionescu. She can go off on any night. She's going to provide that perimeter defense. She can also knock down threes and grab boards for the Connecticut Sun. So I think that it's all going to come down to the coaching. Can Stephanie White, the reigning coach of the year right now, outcoach Sandy Brondello with her roster and come up with schemes for the Sun to be able to take down the Liberty. But those are the players that I'm looking for in this series.
And there you go. Coaches can also be an X factor in this too. Okay, this brings us down to our final prediction before we get to the finals and have to preview this. Sounds to me from what you guys just said and everything that we broke down, sounds to me like you're going with the Liberty. Myles, are you rocking with the Liberty to win this series here?
I am. The 4-0 regular season obviously boosts those predictions a little bit. I do think that they can take this in 3. It could go again to 4, but this is another team that has proven how hard it is, like the Aces, how hard it is to beat them at home. And they've also now proven that they can take these games on the road in Connecticut as well. That being said, these are 2 very, very veteran teams, and it'll come down to all the X factors you talked about, and I think also like even extend to the bench, where the Liberty didn't really go there too much in the first round, but Marine was really good against the Sun this year, and Ty Harris has been playing the best basketball of her pro career. So there's so much, like you said, it comes down to some of the coaching too. There are so many little things that can change, especially now that we're at a 5-game series instead of a 3, but I still have New York comfortably taking this one.
Comfortably sweep. Are we saying sweep?
I'll say sweep.
All right, you're saying sweep. Okay, Khristina, you also saying sweep for the series?
I'm going to say sweep, and here's why. I think that the biggest challenge, I think, for the Liberty in the postseason was the Washington Mystics, and that was one of the best defensive teams in the league. They got over that hump, and here we are with the Sun. I think that there's going to be so many different mismatches between the 2 rosters that the Liberty will easily take this one away.
All right, easily taking. You guys, easy. So we got the Liberty in the finals.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy.
Nothing's easy. Nothing is easy.
We know this. We know this. It's the playoffs. Nothing is easy. Myles just talked about all the little things that matter in these series. Khristina talking about the X factors as well there too. It'll be interesting to see. We've got Aces and Liberty picking them to go to the finals. I think that's the finals that we all want to see. I think we've all wanted this all year long. That is Khristina Williams, founder of Girls Talk Sports TV. Go check her out and all the stuff she does there. Myles Ehrlich, the great Liberty beat reporter for Winsider, also co-host of the Pull-Up, not the Pull-Up, with Myles and Owen. See, Myles, I corrected myself there.
It's okay,
sometimes it happens. You got to correct yourself there. These guys are 2 of the best voices in the WNBA, and check out their work there. Another great preview, guys. We will do this again for the finals, hopefully when it's the Liberty and Aces.
Absolutely.
Always glad to have you guys here. Thanks.